I'm Cray Beaumont Flynn. Welcome to Beyond the Design, a show that gives you a peek behind the curtain of the design industry and shares the stories of those that are the driving force behind it. Well, welcome to Beyond the Design, and today we have Jay and David from Britto Charette. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it and ask you, share us your story behind founding the firm and what inspired you both to start your own interior design firm.
Well, interestingly, I just came back from Chicago yesterday, and Jay and I met in Chicago in 2010 and for Neocon, and we discovered that we both had very similar reactions to walking the floors at Neocon, at product and solutions and design and materiality, and we kind of had this thought at that moment that we should join forces.
So you both have interior design backgrounds?
I have. David is he's an architecture. That's his background. I'm an interior designer. When we met, actually, I already had. I've been practicing interior design, but not at the scale where we are, of course. And it was the perfect match, I guess I would say. It shows, the trajectory of the portfolio.
Yeah, I was doing corporate campus, higher education, and GSA. I had been working for a very large A&E firm. Mm-hmm. And my background is I have a BArch and master's in architecture, and it had slowly shifted to commercial, mostly, and started going to commercial interiors. And at that point, I was working on and living in Beirut, and had come back for a series of meetings in Chicago for a Calexico, which is a border crossing facility between Mexico and California, mm-hmm. but also doing a variety of things in Riyadh for the King of Saudi Arabia. And I was kind of starting to get over the huge, and there's nothing wrong with it, but the Perkins and Will, Smith Group, Gensler kind of entities, and I was kind of looking like I should, I never thought about opening a firm and working for myself. That never occurred to me. However, Jay is very much the entrepreneur, and he was thinking, of course, that's the only thing you should do.
Good balance, symmetry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my beginnings actually was it's a little. I started from zero. It's like I just right out of school, I started taking projects, small projects here and there, and it led to this. But it was hard because you don't have a formal training, and all is the knowledge you learn in school, which is just enough to get you by, and the basics. But at the end, I mean, it's I think I come from my father. He was always self-employed, and for me that was something that I think it was embedded in me in a way that I didn't want to work for a firm. I wanted to do my own thing and run my own show, and we get to do that now.
So what do you both feel sets Britto Charette apart from other interior design firms, and how do you differentiate your style and approach?
Well, I've working for other companies learned a lot of things, and good and bad. And one of the positives of working in San Francisco for 7 years was one of the employers was always very aggressive with technology, and whether or not it was new cloud software or improving, getting 3D printers and looking at attending seminars. And the idea is that the industry is always changing, and you need to change. Sure. And it's not by any means a static field. So that's one of the things I think that we do, that we are able to do. And every single project we do one custom piece, whether or not it's a carpet, whether or not it's a screen. And one of the screens in the project is this enormous double height space, and it's polished chrome. It's spectacularly beautiful. And when the sun rises, it creates all these reflections back and forth. And I think that was something that I'm confident that we could say that we are always innovating and doing a unique custom piece for our clients.
What are some of the key principles that guide your design philosophy at the firm?
Well, I could. this is going to be hard to say, but luxury, it's definitely what we want to do. We want to work with
Right.
clients that are excited about doing something that's very unique, bespoke, but however, that requires a coordination of wanting to work as a team, understanding that it's going to be a sizable budget, and that we're going to be, because we're working as a team, we're going to team up with the best people in the industry, vendors and contractors, and that's a unique process. Each one of these projects is custom. There's nothing like it, and there never will be again. And that's a challenge.
In your experience, what are some of the most common challenges clients face when it comes to interior design, especially at the high end level, and how do you help them navigate these challenges?
I would say one of it's not an issue, but more than anything, it's just for us. Some of our clients are visual. Some others they can see a floor plan and they can see clearly of what the space. So I would say the somewhat challenges, it would be how to convince a client that the amount of money you're going to spend, it's going to be worth every penny, because at the end, what we're doing, we're not here to save them money, right? Luxury is not necessarily something that is affordable. So we try to educate our clients that the project, why we request a minimum for us to take on a project. And so with that said, I mean, it's everything that we specify, we make sure that the client gets one of a kind things. Our interiors are bespoke, and we source the best of the best. I'm constantly traveling around the world, selecting for the best, what's the greatest, and it's the best, connecting with galleries, not using so much of one particular line. And there are a lot of things that come into play, and so at the end, I think one of the biggest things is for us is like convincing the client why go the route that we want to go when we design their interiors.
Yeah, and establishing a couple key things well at the beginning in a contract, and these things are tethered together. You have schedule, your budget, you have our fee, and you have your program, and you have to know those things in order to work this out. And going back to what Jay was saying, it's really important, is there are many clients that have already done multiple projects. So their learning curve may have already been, they understand the process. There are others that this is the first time. Sometimes, which is more of a challenge, you're working by proxy through someone on their team. And we don't do that. We have to work directly with the client. So if and we're fine respecting their privacy and their schedule, but if you're a sports celebrity or an actor, we still have to present to you. We can't work through another person. And it's really important that we establish that trust and rapport. And understanding those things are tethered together. So if you want to compress a schedule, then that means that the cost is going to go up. And unfortunately, it's going to also potentially mean the quality is going to go down. So we have to keep telling the clients we really need to have an understanding, a realistic approach to those things: schedule, budget, fee, and timeline. And when in those things, we can do great work.
You mentioned doing a custom piece in a lot of your projects. So is there a design aesthetic that you're known for, or a Britto Charette identity?
In the beginning, for us, it was something that was brought to our attention by either new clients or by our peers. But there is a look that we do have for sure, and somehow it's embedded in our designs. I honestly can't say what it is. The only thing I can say is like we're very heavy on design. Like David mentioned, it's just not one piece. One piece is the minimum that we have. But for example, in an owner's suite, we hardly ever buy nightstands or a bed. We make sure that each client gets one designed by us. So it is bespoke. I mean, you enter into your owner's suite and everything is customized for you. So those are the things that I would say.
And yeah, absolutely. We do say timeless a lot. That we try to pick materials that will have longevity. That doesn't mean that we won't do an update. But when you're looking at a cerused wood, sandblasted wood, if you're looking at travertine, if you're looking at a honed marble, we're a lot about texture. We tend to avoid prints. You're not going to see you're not going to see a bold California Regency pattern in our work, but we might have a Givenchy Kyle Bunting graphic in the rug. So it's kind of in general, there's a neutrality, and then something bold and bizarre Missoni fabric that kind of becomes an accent, a punctuation, even a non sequitur in the project. So it's also we're very careful about soffits. Especially in the 90s, you saw everybody throwing soffits in all over the place.
Right.
Look at me. We don't do that. We're very deliberate about where we place things. And we work in the classics from antiquity about the idea of axes, terminus, the idea of creating public, private. We're looking at the acoustics of a space. So there's a lot, I would say, that goes into just the classic design that's been going on for literally thousands of years. And we approach that in our work. And it's like, you're never going to look at the end of a corridor and see a mechanical door.
Right.
Well, I hope.
Yeah.
How do you approach the process of collaborating with clients to bring their vision to life while also infusing your own design expertise? Sometimes it's that give and take component with clients, and they go to Pinterest and they want this haircut, but it doesn't fit their lifestyle. So what's the give and take in collaborating with the clients?
I would say for us, it's very important when a client comes back to us or comes up to at the first meetings with kind of like a mood board or at least a couple of images of things that they like, because when you interview a client, you don't know really what they're looking for. And so how do you start the dialogue, right? So for us, it's very important when a client there are clients that just trust us and they've seen our portfolio and they've seen either their friend's home and they're like, I want just the way, I want you to have the freedom and do what you want. But we always make them part of it to a certain point, because we want to make sure that at the end they feel like it's their home and it's not just a show house.
Correct. Can you share some of your favorite projects or memorable moments throughout your journey with the firm?
Well, I think the most recent, we've had a lot of great stuff, but I'm most excited about what we're doing right now. And this is one client here on the beach, and they've been wonderful. From the very beginning when we did the interview, we went up against 3 other interior designers, and they already had interviewed one, and there were 2 more after us, and they said, no, send them home. We're working with Britto Charette.
You're out.
And that project is going along well. It is always frustrating when you're looking at a project and you're looking at the cameras or you show up and you don't see activity. You think nothing's happening, but that doesn't mean things aren't being shipped by air and a custom millworker in another site, or the slabs are being honed in a factory. Like, there's always activity. It just might not look like it. And so managing those clients' expectations is critical. I think that's one of the main things and there's lots of wonderful and talented interior designers, but there's very few that can pull together a project with this very complex, and working with an architect of record, a pool consultant, security, audiovisual, and all of these things coming together, and then managing the client's expectations, because they're only going to remember the last 10 or 20%. So what we try to do, going back to our favorite projects, is we're always really working hard to be what's happening right now is what we have to look at. And that's what they're going to remember. And then also Indy's beautiful.
Yeah, I would say that's one of our, I'd say I could say like 4 of our projects right now that we're working, they are extremely, not just beautiful, but it's like so important for us, where we showcase our expertise and you can see not just adding an expensive piece, but something that has meaning, something that has value, something that you can pass along, something that it's rather than just a piece of furniture, you get in something that's collectible. So we've got really into researching and working with a lot of bespoke pieces and collectible design that we have introduced to our interiors. It's like, just buying a piece of art. It's the same thing. You're buying a piece of furniture it's not going to lose value, and instead it's going to maintain or go up. Those are the things again about this project that we're so excited about. We had it in renderings. Now they're being photographed. In a couple of months, we're going to be photographing a couple of new projects that we just finished, and it's so exciting that I just can't wait for those images to be shared with the world.
Do you ever see, like, when you go to the eye doctor and they put the lens in and they say, can you see the difference? I love it when we show the computer rendering up against the final product. And they look the same. And that's really exciting.
It's such an amazing feeling.
Yeah. And going back to what Jay was saying is that in order for us to communicate so that we're managing their expectations, when we show these drawings, these renderings, these elevations, they get a very clear picture about what they're going to get. So once it's built, they're like, well, I didn't think it was going to look like that. That's never going to happen.
Right.
And it looks just like the rendering. We're really happy.
If something comes along and it's an obstacle or something that's not going to happen, we modify it right away, and we're like, this is what based on construction conditions or whatever. This is we had to make some tweaks. So at the end, when our clients walk, we just got. I mean, we this is very typical for us, and like just lately, we just delivering a project, and then the clients look at it, it's like, oh my God, this is better than the renderings. And our renderings are pretty, I mean, if you go into our website, you look at it, we try to use the best of the best what's out there also when it comes to that. So our clients are not just getting a mediocre rendering, but we're giving something that's realistic and something that it's like, it's photorealistic.
Yeah.
How do you adapt your design approach to meet the unique needs and requirements of each project type?
Right now, we're beginning to look at VR to try to help clients go even further. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at a full floor penthouse, like 8,000 square feet, we're starting to go into that. We've held back. We are not an early adopter of VR, but we're now starting to see with newer technology coming online and accessibility, and also just the comfort level of clients putting something on their face. A lot of them didn't want to do that. So we're looking at that as a way of communicating and analyzing how that can also push the firm forward. And so that is one thing that I think that we're looking at. And oddly enough, I don't think, the kind of a little bit of a tangent, I don't think we would have ever thought that Instagram was our primary portal for getting work. But it is.
Yeah. It's a good marketing tool.
Visiting the Aston Martin, the view is spectacular. Happy we're able to make it through. It's been difficult for most vendors to come in. We're lucky enough to hear for the second time for a different client. So a lot to go.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
So we're going to be pushing more and continue to work on social media, and we have a really good team. Jay and Margaret do a lot with that, and but that continues to be a major part of bringing in work and the way people work and what they want to see, because clients come to us and say, I found this on Instagram. I found you on Instagram. This is what I like. That's primarily how people communicate with us.
It's crazy. I mean, the power of it, because we have clients actually I just met for the first time, and we've been working with them for almost a year. And we just met at the Aston Martin building in downtown Miami. And it's like, when we shake their hands, it's like, nice to meet you finally in person.
You're real.
Yeah. So it is so nice that, people, they can trust us, and they're dropping a lot of money, and yet we've never met in person to shake hands.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And this industry is so diverse and ever changing, instantly. How do you both keep inspired and motivated with all the trends and innovations in the field?
Travel.
Yeah.
Travel is the best thing. Traveling is whoever is listening to this, whether you're a designer or aspiring designer, it's the constant. There's a big world out there, and there's so many of us. There's so many creative stuff. Not necessarily things that are just being created right now. It's like, for example, you just go to the south of France. They're go inside these mansions. Whether something is done traditional, the appreciation of things and all these little details that you find throughout the house, the way the marble was carved, the way the mosaics are created, and how they meet each other, different products. So all those things for us is a source of inspiration, because you may not do it the same way, but you get inspired by it. You come up with your own version of it. So traveling for sure, at least for me, it's one of the biggest sources of inspiration.
Because you mentioned Masan, and then obviously going to Milan. Also, just if you can't afford to do that, though, just going to the Metropolitan Art Museum in New York, and you could spend weeks in there, and you're going to be looking at everything from all over the world, and that's traveling without necessarily going somewhere. And then obviously books, and
yeah, with the Metropolitan Museum, that was. One of our trips that we were, because we had a place nearby in the Upper West Side. We walked there and we saw this Peruvian exhibition of art, pottery and gold. So that inspired us for us to come up with our first collection of pottery that we had, the Wasi collection. So again, you don't need to go that far. So source of inspirations can be found even next door.
Yeah, and there's so many interesting things. I love archaeology, and I'm part of a couple associations, and I attend lectures, and they're all online. They're Zoom, but it's amazing what's going on within that profession, and so traveling is a big part of it. But obviously, books, going to your library. I think that if you're really curious, that's a way of finding out about different cultures, and it's literally always changing every single day, with LiDAR maps, with the ability for excavations, for be able to do excavations without even disturbing the soil. I think right now it's an exciting time to be alive with technology, and many people are trying to be really careful that they're not damaging things in this process, and they're trying to be as informative as possible. And so that's a big part of it too. And I think that we love to, I love movies, and I always am referencing, it can be annoying, but like whether or not it's Blade Runner or Saltburn, when you think about fashion and you think about film and set design and storyboarding, that is a lot of what we do. We are definitely creating these sets that people are going to live in, and that's fun. The uniqueness of how a party's going to be, and creating a scene with audiovisual, and knowing the lighting will be different from in dusk as opposed to early morning. That's what we're doing, and sometimes it almost feels like stage set design. It's great.
As founders, what have been some of the most valuable lessons you've learned since starting Britto Charette? What were you surprised about that you didn't know that you thought you knew, and other lessons that starting your firm, one's entrepreneurial and one's just taking design and not knowing the business aspects of running your own business?
Well, for me, it would be employee retention, or because it's something that you start on your own, and then you just have an assistant, or then you have someone that helps you with bookkeeping. But once you have a staff, it's also managing their expectations as well. So it's not just you, and they have their own ambitions and all that stuff. So for us, at least for me, it's something that you just learn as you go, and now I think we have a pretty amazing team that have been with us for a long time. But and I see that that's not very typical in our industry, because a lot of people that are using companies to step onto the next one and the next one and grow in the field, instead we're promoting within our team. So those are things that you've learned, that in order for them, because you spend a lot of time training
Right.
them, and so there's a lot of knowledge that can go out your door if you don't learn these things to keep them happy as well.
Yeah, losing people through attrition is very costly.
Right.
And though it's also something that you should respect, if somebody wants to go into a different market sector or go to a different part of the country or world, that's very often a normal path. But we try to look at things from a long-term standpoint. There's so much that you're not taught at university, and it starts with a contract. And then it goes on to being profitable. And no one tells you what your profit's supposed to be. And very little time is spent on profit and loss statements.
Right.
Architects graduate with very little knowledge on what it means to run a professional practice. And unfortunately, because of that, then you're not asking for enough money, or you're willing to take jobs that aren't going to help you build your portfolio. And so I worked at a big firm. I had never dealt with that. I would work on a project for GSA that would be scheduled for the next 4 years, it just doesn't come up about how you deal with profit, loss, liability, and dealing with risk. And so I would say to an architecture school or interior design program, you really need to spend more time with your students on that, because that if you don't have that knowledge, you're not gonna make it.
Also, I mean, at this point of our careers, we have you go through your peers, and one thing that is not that is always a gray area is how do you charge your client? How there's not a standard that you should teach you in school and say, you know what, this is going to be your design fee by square footage, or so it's set something that at least you know what to expect, or you work by percentage, or you work by commissions, or commissions plus design. It is a mess. So it's like the way we do business and the way companies and things teaches that there's not a standard. I think it should be standardized in a way that at least everybody. So because every client that work with other designers is like that not one is alike, and you kind of create your own in a way to see how much you're worth. And sometimes, I mean, I feel that we're undercharging our clients, and sometimes clients think they're ripping them off. And I'm like, so it's how do you feel?
Yeah, I don't think a client at the end feels like that. They might at the beginning, because they'll be like, you're charging us more than the architect. And then we'll be like, yeah, and we're going to end up doing more, to be quite honest with you. You're going to spend more time with us. I think that one of the things about that was interesting starting out working with Jay was he has absolutely no problem telling a client, bye-bye. We're not going to work together. Yeah. And also be like, no, we're not. We're worth more than that. Don't accept anything less than this. I unfortunately have this Midwest quality where like I want to please you and make you happy. And Jay's like, he's more like,
listen, yeah, but
I'm going to make money.
Yeah, but I am not by any means. I would never come across as cocky or anything.
No, but you've been telling clients you have the ability to say when they need to be told.
It's because I'm very sweet and very calm and very the way I approach the clients. But in the same token, it's like I'm here to make money. It's like. And,
do you think that is also because of how the industry is being perceived because of television and all the other aspects of, it's quick and easy, you can do it on a dime,
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, big time. They give you 3 months to finish a complete remodel. And I'm like,
that's realistic.
Yeah, exactly. 3 months is just to come up with the concept.
Worse, it happens on a weekend in a show. Like you can't even get a permit in 3 months.
Yeah.
Why do you think you're going to renovate an entire house? I mean, it's great that you have a charitable organization helping a family that's fallen on hard times, but that is not anywhere in the country how it works. But people come out of it thinking like, well, I saw somebody do it in an afternoon. Like, no. I think it's damaging what that happens.
It is. It's a bad way of advertising.
And also, we constantly get people saying, "Do you guys want to do a show? Do you guys want to be on a?" And we're like, "No, we don't." First of all, we want to be involved, not control the content, but we want to respect our clients' privacy. and we want to respect our team, and we also want it to be educational, so people walk away understanding how it really works.
That's very important.
That's the most, and the producers don't want to hear that,
Yeah,
and
they want drama. Right?
they want drama, yeah, and we don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, they want the flash, they want the drama, they want the mistakes. It's like you're kind of taking the industry and turning it and making it kind of quirky, not a real substance or not a real profession. Sometimes when you look at that various programs out there.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's a lot to say about that.
Right. A whole show. Collaboration is often key in the design process. How do you foster a collaborative environment within your team and with your clients?
Well, I usually start the process out. It's interesting the way if you would talk to a client about how they first meet me. Like, I'll show up, usually by myself. I'll walk the site. I'll talk to them about the contract and say, hey, why don't we add this? And if we're going to do this, we should definitely work on that.
Right.
And then we revise the agreement, and then I usually go into the clay modeling and come up with the three-dimensional qualities and axes, circulation, program, public, private, all that kind of stuff. Work triangle in the kitchen, all that kind of thing. And then, but at that point, Jay and I are talking. We're also talking to the team. It just happened in Naples where one of we got the project from the architect. You have to be really careful working with an architect because they're very sensitive. Yeah.
It's like you have to not to hurt their ego and
Yes. Very, very careful. And so we got the project rolling, and then at that point we're talking back and forth in the firm, and someone's like, "Why are you putting the kitchen there? Why don't you put it here?" Mm-hmm. And that's a great idea. Like, that's when we start. We're all now looking at this, and we're talking about circulation, views to the intercoastal or the ocean, and it's that process that we're going back and forth, and then usually at that point. I leave, and sometimes the clients think I died or something. I'm like, then Jay steps in, and then he's working on that with the materiality and the presentations and the mohair. Even though we're still talking, though I kind of phase out, and then I go into the next proposal, contract, site visit. And then lastly, very often, now there's somebody we haven't mentioned, but Pedro, who's a principal here and who's involved with purchasing. In the end, people, at the end of the project are now working with Pedro and the project manager. And so there's not as much contact. And so sometimes Jay and I will step in like, we're still alive, here we are. But everybody loves Pedro. In the end, everybody is like, that's part of, he's the last 10% of what people remember. And he's really, really good. He should do work for the FBI and CIA for negotiating to get somebody to come out. He can get anybody off of a ledge. He can calm anybody down. He's able to dissolve any kind of frustration. And he's kind of like, let's figure this out. So we have, I think part of it is we've got like Jay was saying, we have a good team. And like Margaret always says, we play to our strengths. Like, what are we really good at? And how can, who's the best person to solve a problem? Who's the best person to tell the client, hey, we're not going forward until you pay, because we pay by phase, and if you're not paying, we're not working. And in the office, we call it no money, no honey.
Yeah, there you go.
We say that all the time. And until you send the check, the project's on hold.
Right.
And so we've developed a lot of, I think, like you're saying, it's taken 14 years. But I would say we can deal with a lot, not just projects, but a lot of complexity and a lot of things, and handle it well.
How do you anticipate the future of interior design, and how is Britto Charette positioning itself to thrive in the years to come?
Based on Miami's growth, and I can only speak to what we have here and what we see. It is a great market, although there's speculations and things with AI technology that our jobs may not be as needed. But again, I mean, if you have the money to get things right, and I don't think that will be the case. So and that's in that side, but on the other side, I would say for us, like I believe that more than ever, our clients have been educated when it comes to not just buying. You go and buy a set of furniture, right? You get the matching chairs, the matching sofa. In this case, clients are like, no, I just want it to be something unique, and to create that uniqueness, you do a thorough research in the market and what's the best for the space that you're working on. Collectible, I would say collectibles for us. It's collectible design. It's making a big change, at least in our firm. It has.
Yeah, I'm not worried about AI whatsoever. I use an example. You look at the pyramids, and that's the final product that represented 20 years or thousands of years of the evolution of a step pyramid to a two-step pyramid to a final pyramid. It's the process that's the complexity. It's about the coordination. It's the humans coming and showing up at the right spot. It's about getting the material there, building the canals. So you look at our project, anybody, not anybody, but it's not uncommon or impossible to come up with a pretty image. How do you get it built? How would AI possibly understand the idea of working with vendors and submitting for permits and showing up and coordinating? That is literally never going to happen. Even if we have walking robot AI, it's still not going to come up with the idea of the complexity and the nuances of design and the capricious nature of it, and the fact that it doesn't always make sense, and that there are elements to it that would defy logic. So I'm not worried about that. In a bigger scale, I'll be very honest. We can't pretend that while we understand and worry about the environment, our clients could have a second or third or fourth home. That in its very nature isn't green. So I don't think as a firm we would be hypocritical to point out the errors of somebody else or address that. We are definitely fulfilling a market niche that some people would see as being unfair, unfriendly to the environment. And to that I say, like, this is what we're doing, and there's lots of ways that I could talk about how we could impact the environment in a different way. So also the idea of separation of the rich and the poor, and there's so much that I think is going to become more socially acute and problematic. And when you're working with somebody who's a billionaire, we have to respect their program and their needs. And they are a person, and they have a right to be heard and to have a vision fulfilled. If you don't want to do that, I would suggest then going to another part of the profession. There are many things in architecture that you can do that are about addressing social issues and what's going on. And so I'd be fair, we're not doing that, but we've never pretended or said that we are. And but that is definitely a part of the future. For someone listening who's thinking about the profession, this is really a wide open. My point is that this is a wide open opportunity for public housing, low cost housing, senior housing. There's so much that interiors and architecture can provide for humanity, and you can just decide what it is that interests you and pursue that. It's a really huge profession, and each one provides something special and unique.
Right. Tell us a little bit about some upcoming projects or initiatives that Britto Charette is excited about.
Right now, we're working. We started cranking out some of the tables. We have been designing, like you mentioned in the past, tables and pretty much objects and furniture for our projects. Meaning that it's 14 years that we've been working together with David. We've developed numerous pieces of furniture. So we finally decided to make this accessible to others in a limited run. So that's what we're working on. We're really excited. There's a collection. There's a total of 10 tables that we've designed. So at this point, we've developed some of them already and for our projects, and some others are in the making. So these products, again, at this point, we haven't given them yet to galleries they're gonna represent the line, but that's what we're working on. very, very excited about it. And again, it's just they're going to be limited runs, so we're going to get a limited edition for the whatever the materials that we end up using.
Yeah, I think that one of the things we talked about a long time ago was that if we were in Paris and we're in we're probably in a walker and we're 90 and we go to the flea market and we see one of our pieces and, or it's being sold at Christie's or something, a bespoke console table, I would make me really proud to have something like that.
Yes, absolutely. We've launched about, I would say 7 years ago or 8 years ago, we launched a WASI pieces. They were more conceptual, like we did a desk, backs and tables, some tables and chairs. So those pieces still so relevant, so beautiful, the collectible items. And I'm happy for the ones that purchased them because we no longer make them. So they're one of a kind, they're still there. And I was going through the publication, and I found one of our consoles in this beautiful interiors in the Hamptons. That everything that they have in those pieces are all collectibles.
Yeah, we didn't even know how. We knew we sold it, but we didn't know how it ended up.
Where did it end up? So it was, it's a high price point. So you're looking at everything else around it. It's all collectible stuff, and we're like, it just gives me goosebumps to see our pieces like where they end up. So that's something that we're going to continue doing. Yeah.
When I was in Chicago, I basically went to 2 museums each day. And the last day was looking at industrial design spanning over 300 years, whether or not it was mass produced or also architectural elements from the Chicago School of Design, the architectural elements, Frank Lloyd Wright, Sullivan, and then seeing industrial designers from the United Kingdom. And then you look at also pieces from Hellenistic art, and one amphora was for olive oil, another one was for wine, another one was just for wedding celebrations, and they're each unique in their silhouette and the way they're painted. And I love the fact that it's over 2,000 years, and I'm in a museum looking at somebody else's work.
Right.
I would love to have that idea that somehow we've had a footprint.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the whole idea I think for me also as not just as a designer, but as an immigrant and coming from a rich background, like being a Peruvian and having the everything, all the work that pre-Inca and the Inca culture have done. I mean, all my tattoos are based on that, and that inspires me so much. Like this tattoo I have in my forearm. This was a petit armoire that we designed, which I don't know who owns it right now, where in the world it is. So it's a collectible piece that we've done. So those are the things that I would say we're excited about, and also spreading the. I get to do talks for universities in my hometown, and just to empower and encourage kids, that I came from the same place where they're from, and then there is a big world out there, and to pursue their dreams, because everything is possible. So that's another thing that I look forward to more talks and these types of workshops.
Yeah. Also, when you kind of drop a pebble into a lake or a body of water, you see the ripple. I can see when we did the Petit Armoire, how it impacted another firm. And then when we did the mirror collection with Kyle, in some cases, Kyle, you could see it pick up in someone else's collection. It's like fashion. You can see a ripple that goes into other company.
Some are lazy and they copy.
Some of them just copy. But others are inspired, and that's fun, and so that's we're feeding off of that too. The latest Kyle Bunting collection, which we haven't even showed Kyle yet, is called Roma, and it's based on trips where we went to Rome, and pieces of, and some people are going to look at it and they're going to I know exactly what that's from, and other people clearly it's inspired, but I can't place and that's what we're kind of going for, that we have an echo of something or an inspiration and a playful, kind of witty nod at an element. But we want to do these things quick. Right. This thing is about speed. We don't want to perseverate and go over this design and go over it again. And we definitely want to be lean and just we'll study things, 3D print them, look at them, and have them evaluated by our peers. But we're not like, we don't have the time to like really sit around in a studio with a beret on and drinking coffee and say like, how many times are we going to go over this? Because it's about time.
What prompted to do a partnership and a collection with Kyle Bunting? And what did you really get out of it? How did it make you feel? And did all the designs come from your collaboration and you went to him, or how was that process?
It started with Jay, 'cause Jay had worked with Kyle prior to us forming the company.
Yeah, we've been. I've been working with Kyle prior to meeting David, and so it was just organically. He saw our design aesthetics, and we were working on some patterns for other things that we were working on. It's like, what about coming up with a collection? Let's collaborate. And so we're like, perfect. So we're ready. So we developed that with our team, and we presented, and Kyle was like, yeah, this is perfect. And I believe that our faceta, the one that we designed about 10, 12 years ago, is one of the best sellers that he's had throughout. And
it was using the Kips Bay House, the favorite pattern color combination, and it got in the New York Times, and that was fun to get. But that was definitely more you. That was something of developing and coming up with the pattern, both in the mirror and the circular patterns, and then the Givenchy graphic from Montreal was stunning, and a very unusual combination of cowhide, and worked very, very well. And then there's a gap of time, and then with COVID, we had more time where it was just us in the studio.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone was working remotely, and so we had months where it was nice to. It's kind of like when you sit in church as a kid and you get to daydream because you can't do anything for 2 hours, so your mind just races and goes places, as opposed to constantly being interrupted. And so we had a lot of time just to putz around, and we're coming up with more work, kind of stuff like that. That was one of the nice things that happened with COVID.
Tell us a little bit about some of the recognition and awards the design has received for your work.
We a couple of years ago, we entered a competition for Interior Design Magazine, which is one of the largest for us in our industry. And it was this product that we developed made of glass, and we there's some vases. So we entered, and we're talking about there's over 20 countries and so many firms that we're competing against, and this is. So we won. That's the balls. It's not there.
Yeah. So this was the sun and the moon, and they pivot.
Oh wow!
On this pedestal was actually inspired by a trip to Palm Springs to see another artist.
Yeah. So, but that was we did win actually. It was hard to believe that that after competing with some of those big brands So that's the one that won the best of the year. It's a set of 3, and it has
Beautiful.
a whole year. So yeah. So what we did is it was hard for us to believe, but just recently this year, at the end of the year, we entered one of our projects in Brookville, New York, for best of the year for interiors. And so David I asked David, because the celebration when they give the awards is the same week as Art Basel here in Miami. So I told David,
which is very frustrating.
So I told David the day before, I was like, David, I have a place in New York. So I was like, for us, it's so easy just to go and we have a place to stay. And so I told David, I think I should go. I have feelings that because we were finalists. And I was like, he's like, Jay, we're competing with so many like firms that we're going against that I don't think there's a chance that we're.
That's not entirely true. So, we've been shortlisted 7 times, and so 5 times we didn't win. The time that we won for another award, we didn't show up. And so I jokingly said to Jay, when we show up, we don't win. When we win, so let's not show up, because then I was like, That was what I was saying.
But we didn't show up.
So we didn't show up when we want.
But finally, I mean, like for us, I mean, the products are a great thing. It's something, you know, that we enjoy doing and whatnot. But really the core of our business is interiors.
Yeah.
And for us to have that sort of recognition, not that we live for it, but it's you know, it's really rewarding and it's really nice to be acknowledged.
I'd love to shout out to Cindy Allen. If you ever want to have lunch with us, you know, we'd love to meet you in person, and we'd go to New York and we'd go take you wherever you want to go, and we'd like to have a conversation.
Yeah.
There you go. The world's out there now.
Yeah.
What legacy do you hope Britto Charette will leave in the world of interior design?
I again can go back real quick about mine. For me, is mentorship that I can help others. Again, it's not easy for us immigrants to come into the States as a first generation, and hopefully can get to inspire more and more people or designers, or not even designers, just you know, by doing talks and whatnot, that we can validate their dreams and the ways, and also empower them. So for me, that is one of the biggest things. And secondly is to new up and coming designers. I always, every time that I meet someone that, you know, that comes up to us, because we've been in the industry for a while now, and they see our work and they always compliment and they come to us and to take photos and whatnot. I always tell them, it's like, if you ever need anything, you know, just reach out to me. This is my contact information. If I can be in any ways help to further your career, open-minded. So that's something, again, that for me, that's more valuable than anything. Yeah.
Well, for me, it's not so much like that. I would say it's more about the concept of you're going to have to be your own. You're going to have to toot your own horn. You're going to have to be the best supporter. And in that, what Jay said is that very often you're going to be told that you're not good enough, you're not successful enough, you're not connected to the right family, that you're not. It's not a profession that's easy. And traditionally, architecture was dominated by wealthy white men, and that has changed dramatically. And when I teach adjunct, I see the studios classes changing dramatically. So the profession is definitely shifting, but it's still a challenge because it's expensive to go to college, and then unfortunately the salaries are not competitive from what your level of education is. And to come out of school, I feel like what we would try to give back is we don't ask people to pay work as an intern unpaid. That's unfair. And we try to be competitive within our benefits, whether or not that's 401k, PTO, and then educational time off. I think that what we'd like to do is we give all the benefits of a large firm in a boutique small firm setting. That has to be done, though, I think, in a larger sense. And understanding the profession when you're a student and what are you going to get out of it. I think that's a level of being realistic, that you're managing your own expectations and you're understanding how you're going to fit into that. So that's a little different. But I feel that that's something I'm proud of. And I think that we really tried to have done. Partly because I have worked in so many crappy environments.
I hear you. I worked for someone that used to throw staplers at me.
This is probably gross, but I worked at a firm where my boss threw up in the kitchen sink and told me I had to clean it up.
Oh, mine walked around in his underwear.
Oh my God!
And it's one you did not want to see.
Well, you never want to see that.
Yeah.
He did apologize later on and said that was awful and he should never have done that.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Is there any particular project you want to continue to work on that you could just repeat? And is there any particular project you have not worked on that you want to?
Well, I'm always really good. I'm always talking. I'm running in and saying, "Oh my God, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to enter a competition." And so, yeah.
Right now, for me, one of the biggest things is actually there are two buildings in Billionaires Row in New York City that my eyes are on. Hopefully, if you invite us again next year, we'll probably have one or two projects in those buildings. But that's I've been dreaming of working in them for a couple of years now. So
which ones? Which ones?
Different. We already talked about it.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's one is a Caesar Pelli building.
Caesar Pelli or Stern?
Pelli.
Okay.
You're not fond of the structure. That's the reason why I didn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
But anyway, and then the piano also building. Bottom line is that so those are the things. I mean, the good thing is like a lot of the places that we wanted to work on here in Miami, we're already in it. It's not just doing one, but several units. So which is the power of intention, and
Exactly.
and somehow it just comes to you. So I'm a big believer of that you manifest it.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You have positive visualization is really critical.
Mm-hmm.
And it's consistently worked for us. I will say, be very, very clear and articulate what it is that you want, because you're going to get it, but it not be the way you wanted it. But
right.
Yeah, I think we did look at working in the Middle East and have been approached about projects in Dubai that hasn't come to fruition. We are working on a project in Israel right now. I think the architecture profession is again, I'm saying it's not always equitable for different people within it. One of the great things about New York or Chicago but Miami, you have the Zaha Hadid, her firm is still functioning and doing projects. But you mentioned there's so many great architects working today and doing a variety of projects. It could be Tadawando or who's doing a beautiful project in the Middle East. There's a lot happening, and so it'll be fun to do that kind of collaboration. And I would love to get into international architecture competitions and the paper architecture route. And that's how Zaha Hadid became famous with her Hong Kong competition. So that would be something I'd love to do, but I don't know if he's going to agree with that.
You go part-time, take pay cut.
Yeah, but if I get the job, then you're going to be excited.
So, gentlemen, what's next? What else would you like to share with us?
Well, we're moving. We're now leaving. We've been in Wynwood for 10 years, and we're now moving our studio. We're excited about that. It'll be just north of the design district. And Jay and I have talked about the idea of expanding into Savannah, where I live, where I was teaching at SCAD, so that we would be servicing Buckhead, Hilton Head, and Savannah, and that Jay would be spending potentially more time in New York with Manhattan and the Hamptons. But right now, there's so much work here and focus that we're very busy with Miami and this move. Mm-hmm. And we're excited about doing the industrial design and collaborations. And in all sincerity, we would love to team up with other companies, other firms. We're always thinking and sketching. And if anybody thinks that, we would be a good fit, please reach out to us, because we'd love to work with you. And that can be in porcelains and furniture and not just carpets, but we feel that we can collaborate and have a great run. So that's always an opportunity.
Fantastic. Anything else? Any last comments?
From my end would be more than this collaboration as well, and working with galleries, having our pieces out there. That it's been a while since we've been talking about it. So now that I have a little more time, that I'm dedicating that time doing making the right connections, so who can actually make those pieces for us at the level that they deserve to be made, and the right materiality and the right finishes. So that's that's what I'm looking forward to for this.
I can't say what I want to do because I haven't told him yet. So,
No more time off, David.
This is not the place to say it. But I just continuing to, I think pushing yourself and being curious about is really important. And I that's just a critical part of growing, you know, and the idea of your perspective on something changes. And when I was younger, I wanted to live in Chicago in a Mies van der Rohe building on the 45th floor. I knew exactly the direction it was going to face. Now, as I'm getting older, what I want has changed dramatically. And I think that just accepting that within yourself, the places you want to go. Jay just went to Iceland, and I want to go to Japan. I think the things that when you're younger, you want to go to London, you want to go to Paris, you want to go to Rome. And I think just go with that. Just keep pushing yourself and being curious and creating plans and things you want to do next, and really work at doing those things. And I think you'll feel fulfilled and happy. And like Jay said, traveling, you're going to be inspired. And it just really is an incredible source of knowledge and stuff that you can share with other people. And it's always going to push you forward.
Well, gentlemen, it's been an honor to meet you and a pleasure to have you on our show. And I thank you very much, and much continued success to you both.
Thank you. And that noise in the background here is this place is always under construction. You can sit here and you can feel this boom as they're sinking these foundation lines coming in.
It's the neighbors, and it's not us.
It's not us. Yeah, this place is always electricity. I'm really happy that didn't go out. That we lose Wi-Fi.
Oh wow, we got lucky.
Place, yeah, this is one huge construction site. So this actually worked out good. I thought we were going to hear people.
Well, to the best to you, and we will chat soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.